Two topics feed in today's video. On one hand, we've got West Ham United securing up to £145 million of funding from Barclays Bank, borrowed against the next 2 seasons of Premier League money. And on the other hand, it's yesterday's reports that West Ham United are expected to sign Callum Wilson. Never thought those two topics would be coming together for a video, but here we are. Because I think both of them are a result of poor planning, poor spending for years gone by, all coming back to hit us at once. That's what I'm going to be discussing today. A lot of camera doing yesterday, but thank you very much for joining me. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. Had over 600 people in the last 4 weeks subscribe, so massive thank you for your support. And also please keep dropping likes on the video. We could get over 1,000 likes today. That would be fantastic. And just a reminder, we have our next raffle, our July raffle, which is Mark Noble memorabilia. Top prize is this match-worn Mark Noble shirt, a very rare shirt because of the NHS patch. They wore this during COVID, but obviously there was no crowd at the game, so you couldn't take it off and give it to someone in the crowd. So it's very, very rare. There you are, match-worn Mark Noble shirt. We also got a signed Mark Noble shirt here as well, replica of the last shirt that we wore at Upton Park, signed by Mark Noble. And then the third prize is a signed Mark Noble captain's armband. Link in the description below and the pinned comments. Tickets are £5. Raffle closes next Sunday. Buy 2 tickets, you get your third ticket for free. Hey, that's everything you need to know in regards to the raffle. But thank you to anyone that's grabbed a ticket, and good luck if you do. Right, today's topic. I want to go back to Monday. The article came out because I feel like this has changed. I feel like the narrative around Potter wanting a striker has changed drastically. Because on Monday, the article said Graham Potter isn't prioritising a striker. Now, I read that. I was okay with that. Because, well, if I was in charge of transfers, what position would I prioritise right now in the transfer window for West Ham? It was midfield. That's what I would prioritise. So when I read that, I thought, that's okay. I like that. That's giving me a reassurance. Now, there was a little bit, I thought maybe he's prioritising the goalkeeper. However, because I want to see that midfield focused on, I was okay. Because it didn't say Potter doesn't want a striker. He's just prioritising another position at the moment. Funds are limited. So we've only got enough money to work on one big signing, and then we need to get players out before we work on the next signing. That's expected, right? Once Emerson goes, possibly a Gerd, possibly someone else, then we can maybe look at a striker. That's how I read it. So I was calm about it. Potter not prioritising a striker. That's all right. Arguably, it's good news. It all depends on what you want. Those of you who want to see midfielders may agree. You want to see a keeper, whatever. If your priority is a striker, you're going to disagree with that. And that's okay. That's your opinion. But then the Callum Wilson thing came out. But after the Callum Wilson news came out, I noticed articles coming out saying that Potter doesn't want a striker. Hang on a minute. This has changed. It's gone from him not prioritising one to not wanting one. Two completely different things as far as I'm concerned. And I feel like the narrative changed completely in order to try and justify the club's pursuit over Callum Wilson. Now, if Callum Wilson was a one-off, I'd get it. If it was, we're bringing him in because we don't have that much money and Potter really wants a goalkeeper, he really wants 2 central midfielders, I would sort of get it. But Callum Wilson is exactly the type of signing we've made before at West Ham United. This wouldn't be a one-off. And also, I can't shake my answer to this question, which is, if Callum Wilson was not a Will Salthouse player, would we be trying to sign him? Because my answer is no. My answer is I don't think we would be. I think we are only signing him because he's a client of Will Salthouse, who is the favourite agent of David Sullivan. And I find that hard to shake. I won't change my opinion on that. And that's where it doesn't sit well with me. It's not just Wilson the player, it's also the whole story around it, the narrative that's being pushed. But why are we in the position that we are, where we're potentially having to sign a free agent striker? And it's because of years of mismanagement. It's because of years of poor planning and poor spending. And that's why we've just had to go and secure £145 million worth of funding from Barclays Bank, robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's a solution to the short-term cash flow problem that we've got. We knew we had one. It's sorted now. Money is coming into West Ham. We've got money to fund what's up ahead for the next short-term period. But that's what it is. It's a short-term solution to a long-term problem. Because once that money dries up, we're going to be back in the same situation. In 12 months' time, one of those loans are going to have to be repaid and it's going to have to be borrowed again. Essentially, we've been able to borrow against the entire Premier League base fund this coming season because we know we're playing Premier League football, which is just under 100 million. But for the following season, obviously because we don't know we're going to be playing Premier League football, we can only borrow a certain amount or arrange an overdraft to a certain amount, which is around about 45 million. So next summer, if we avoid relegation, we'll be able to borrow even more against the upcoming Premier League campaign. My point is, what we've just done sorts us out for a year, and then we're back in the same issue, and we're going to need another solution, and that will be go to Barclays, take out a loan with high interest rates, and pay it back, and then we'll continue to do the same thing. Keep robbing Peter to pay Paul. The same problems will occur. So how do we get out of this situation? Because we're going to have to. At some point, we're going to have to get out of it. And without an equity funding round from the shareholders, which isn't going to happen, because if it was, it would have happened by now to avoid going to the bank and borrowing with high interest rates. They would have done it already. They can plough up to 90 million into the club through equity shares. Sullivan, Kretinsky, Gold, all of them. They don't want to. They don't want to put their money into the club. So that would be the quickest solution. They don't want to do that. So let's move on to the next one. Well, you can gain money, increase commercially what you do. Now, maybe they've done that. I believe what Boyle Sports are paying for a season shirt, front of shirt sponsor is greater than what Betway were paying. So maybe we've increased that sponsor once. Well, we've got a bit of a problem on the horizon, haven't we? Because this time next year, assuming we avoid relegation, Boyle Sports can't be on the front of the shirt. They're banned. They can move to the sleeve, certainly, because Boyle Sports have signed a 3-year deal. Obviously, if we get relegated, they can remain on the front of the shirt because these new rules apply to the Premier League and not the Football League. But we could be in a position that next summer we're looking for a new front of shirt sponsorship. And are we going to find one that pays as much as a gambling company? I'm not so sure. We are switching from Umbro to New Balance this time next year. Hopefully that will have an increase. We could help out the LLDC to get a naming rights deal done for the stadium. They take the first 4 million. After that, it gets split between the LLDC and West Ham United. That would generate funds for us. So commercially, there's improvement there. But is that going to, even if you did all of that, is that going to fill the massive hole that we've got financially? I don't think so. So in my opinion, the best way, the quickest way, and the easiest way, well, I say easiest, let's use that loosely. The best way, more reliable way would be player trading. Because we're not very good at it. We don't generate profit on players very often. Now, we've just made a pretty big one on Mohamed Kudus. About 20 million we've just made on Kudus. That's good. And I appreciate some fans don't like the idea of bringing players in to develop them and sell them for profit. But the aim has to be that you keep a hold of your best players, like Jared Bowen, but the ones that you could perhaps replace easy enough, you then sell them for a profit. So player trading could be our way out of this. And that's why bringing players like Callum Wilson frustrates me, because financially he's there. He's going to contribute towards the PSR. He's going to absorb what is limited funds with absolutely no chance of recouping anything at the end of his contract. I don't want to call it dead money, but you get my point, right? If Callum Wilson's going to cost West Ham X amount of million over a season or 2 seasons, that's it gone. There's no way of getting that back. But if you buy in a player and you develop him and he does all right and he moves on, there's a good chance you're making a profit in him. Good for PSR, good for cash flow, happy days. And we've just invested money into the player recruitment side of things. We've paid £1 million for Kyle McCauley to leave Chelsea and join West Ham United. They've just taken another scout from Chelsea in the last couple of weeks to West Ham United. we've hired that Italian scout to stay in Italy, to go around the Italian market and have a look at who's available, who we could bring in, and also try and get players out of West Ham into Serie A if we have to. We're investing in the player recruitment side of things. We're spending money. Now, I appreciate £1 million isn't much when your club turnover is nearly 300 million, but it's still £1 million. It still counts towards everything that you're doing at your football club. And I don't believe for 1 second that we've hired Kyle McCall and he's come along, done his data analysis and went hit enter on his little search thing. Callum Wilson. I don't believe that's happened at all. You will not convince me in the slightest that Kyle McCauley has identified Callum Wilson. Not at all. So we've spent money to invest in people whose expertise is identifying young players, identifying talent, and we're just ignoring them. We're just bypassing them. They could be the key to helping West Ham get out of this financial mess that we found ourselves in because of years and years and years of poor planning and mismanagement. We've got them there. And if you're not going to listen to them, if you're not going to use them, then why have we got them in the first place? It's like hiring a chef and he comes along and says, right, I'm going to whip you up a nice meal. You go, actually, can I just have a can of soup, please? Can you just heat me up a can of soup? What's the point of hiring that chef if all you're going to want is a tin of soup heated up? Probably a bad analogy, but you get where I'm going with this. I still have no desire. I'm calm today. I still have no desire to see Callum Wilson at West Ham United. I also just don't see the point of it, bringing him in. I just don't see the point of it. Now more than ever, the club need to learn their lesson. And say the club, I mean David Sullivan. David Sullivan needs to learn his lesson here, which is look at the mess that we are in. We're having to sell before we can buy this summer. It may be their own policy they put in place because of the fragile situation we're in financially. Regardless, that is our policy. You should be embarrassed. You should be thinking, this is not good. Why are we in this situation? You should be looking at what Sunderland are doing, thinking, hang on a minute, how come they're able to spend loads of money and we're not? Karen Brady did her little thing on that website. I can't, this is living rent-free in my head since she's done it. She put her statement up on the official website, bragging that this is the second longest consecutive period that West Ham United have been in the top flight in their history under their stewardship. Well, where's the benefit of that? There's got to be one. And the biggest benefit has to be financial stability, that you've had years upon years upon years of all this money coming into the club. You've not had to worry about what relegation, but well, you did once back in the early part of your tenure. But since then, you've not had to deal with relegation. You've not had to sack staff because we've got relegated. There needs to be a benefit, and that has to be financially. Now, there should be one in terms of the squad. You should have a really good squad by now. Now, more than ever, the club have to make sure that every penny they spend in the transfer window counts, that they get it right. And now, if you bring in younger players, let's take Guilherme as a really good example here. I think we can agree it's not been a success so far. Before people start giving it reasons and excuses, I agree. I subscribe to them. He hasn't had an opportunity. We're being patient. He's a young lad. We've got high hopes for him. Yes. My point I'm way to make isn't about why he's not played, perhaps been a success yet. But if we can agree that we spent 19.5 million on him, I know there's a potential add-ons, but I think it's fair to suggest we've not triggered any of those yet. So we spent 19.5 million on him. He hasn't been a success yet. A year later, if we were to sell him, going by the reports, there's Brazilian clubs, Botafogo in particular, they're willing to pay 20 million to bring him back. My point is, you bring in a young player, he's not been a success, you can get your money back on him. Now, it won't all work out like that, but if you make a mistake, financially, it's a lot less. You get Danny Ings in and you make a mistake, you're stuck because no one's buying him. But also, he doesn't want to leave. Because when you're Guilherme, your ambition is to play as much minutes as you can, to play football, to try and get into the Brazilian national team eventually. Your desire is to get on that pitch. And if you ain't getting at West Ham, you'll be keen to leave. But with Danny Ings, at the latter part of his career, his desire perhaps isn't to be playing minutes. I would like to think it is, but he reportedly had the opportunity to leave West Ham and didn't. Why? Because he's on 125 grand a week. Why would he give that up to go move to Southampton on 50 grand a week? He's not going to. Because at the end of his career, he knows financially this is his last chance to make a bit of money, secure his family's future, happy days. So when I see us after Callum Wilson, I just think it's a wasted opportunity. The wages that we'd be spending on Wilson, and I appreciate the reports have come out saying it'll be heavily based on appearances and goals and whatnot, but he's still going to have a basic wage. He's not going to be playing for. He's not going to get paid nothing, right? He's still going to get tens of thousands of pounds. It's just that when he plays a game, he'll get a few tens of thousands of pounds. If he scores a goal, he might get a few tens of thousands of pounds. I think sometimes that can be risky though, because if he's not playing, what's his motivation going to be, etc. But I appreciate the arguments for signing Wilson will be, well, financially it's not that expensive. Well, it still will be. Even if we take up his basic wage was towards the lower end of the West Ham squad, let's say 50,000, which is low for us spending on a first team player at West Ham United. That 50 grand, I bet you Juve is on less than that because he's a young player. We're not bringing in someone at the peak of their career or towards the end of their career where they're on big bucks. We're bringing in someone. When we signed Sufal out from Slavia Prague, we gave him 35 grand a week. And that was he probably quadrupled his wages and then some. Wilson will be on more without any incentives. I'm pretty certain Wilson will be on a higher basic wage than what Sufal was at West Ham United. I see us linked to a Met striker, Lucas Stassen. I am pretty confident they would be on less money per week than what Callum Wilson would be without any appearances and stuff like that thrown on top. I could be wrong. I just don't see the appeal of it. And I think more now than ever, we have to get this window right. Because if we can get in 5 or 6 players now, and 3 or 4 of them are a big success. If Juve is a big success this season, he racks up a few assists, gets a couple of goals, he puts in big performances. Look at Kirkaz. Does well for Bournemouth, he's worth 45 million. My point is, I strongly believe making profit on players is the best way for West Ham to get out of this financial mess that we're in. Because you don't always have to sell. I'm not saying we bring in 5 or 6 and we sell 5 or 6 next summer. Bayer Leverkusen is a good example where they sell 1 star player every summer. That's their rule. Now, they've sold more than that this summer, but previously that was always their rule. If we can keep them all, bar one, and sell him to fund the transfer window, that's a success. I'm inclined to agree. And eventually, after a few transfer windows, you want to be in a position that actually financially you don't need to sell anyone for profit anymore. And on the pitch, result-wise, things are going well. You're competing for European football. So therefore, the players don't have to leave your club to go and pursue their ambitions. Because at the minute, as a club, we can't... If a player wants to play European football, I'm not even saying Champions League football, just European football, they're going to have to leave West Ham to do so. So we can't match their ambitions. Financially, we don't have much wiggle room in the transfer market either. We've really got to work smart this summer, really work smart. And the best way to do that is to rely on people like Kyle McCauley, who we've brought to this club to identify young talent, to identify talent that are perhaps cheaper than they should be, that could go on and become better and therefore worth a lot more money. Graham Potter has spoken about it as well. We've got to work smart and we've got to be very careful with our money. I don't believe Callum Wilson is a smart signing. And I don't believe he would be worth every penny. But the reason I feel like we need to be doing but also the reason the club are looking to sign Callum Wilson is because of years of mismanagement and poor planning and poor spending. We're in this position where we've just had to borrow or secure funding up to 145 million Barclays Bank. We continue to rob Peter to pay Paul. And until we change our mentality, our attitude, our behaviour, our culture, that financial part of West Ham is not going to change. But if we can change how we do things, starting with the player trading side of it, maybe, just maybe, every summer will make a positive impact on the financial state we're in. And I strongly believe that. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me, muttering away on Wednesday morning. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But before you disappear, please do drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up. Subscribe to the Hammers channel if you want your raffle ticket. Links in the description below or the pinned comments. A massive thank you to anyone who grabs a ticket. I'll catch up with you in a bit.